So yes, Arjun, congratulations on scoring 730, or I'd say finally scoring 730, given your
Thank you.
experience of
Yeah.
4 attempts. And since when have you been studying for the test?
I have started preparing for GMAT October last year. I still remember that I was actually driving back from a relative's house. I mean, he's been a family friend for a long time. He's become a relative, and GMAT was in my mind for a long time, but it was my wife who kept pressing me. And in fact, I still remember the discussion we had, and my wife told me that you have to start studying for GMAT, or else I'll stop talking to you. And she has been pressing me for a while. And I still remember that it was probably end of September last year, around this time. And then it was a Saturday evening, and then I told her that I will start studying for GMAT from Monday onwards. And then on Monday I started with the GMAT prep exam, the exam they have. So I started with that, and it was a pain for me to sit through and complete the exam. And ideally I shouldn't take breaks in between, but I took 2 or 3 breaks because I mean, being out from the study for almost 9 years and I have been working, it was really difficult to sit at one place and concentrate on an exam for 4 hours. So that was a big challenge for me. And I still remember scoring 480 in the first exam. And at that time, I really didn't have a lot of idea. I knew what was a good GMAT score, but I didn't have a plan in front of me that how should I approach? How should I tackle my quant? What are my strengths or what are my weaknesses? So slowly, I developed a plan. But coming back to my first 3 GMATs, or in fact the first 2, because I started to actually change my approach from the third, although my results don't reflect that. But the major thing that I did in the first and the second GMAT, and when I look back, and this will be my advice to people who are the new GMAT takers. So the thing is that, and in fact, you guys have always mentioned it in your any debrief or any of the, I mean, the sessions that I've attended. It's very important to do the error analysis. It's as important as you're learning new things. So most of the times during the first 2 exams, I just focused on learning new things. I focused on taking more practice exams, and whether it can be shorter exams or full-length exams. I still remember that before taking my first GMAT, you guys, I mean, there is a link in GMAT Club or Beat the GMAT, I don't remember, what all the full-length practice exams that are available for free. So I almost took all of them. There are all 12 or 13. What I didn't do was the error analysis. I knew that I was...
Tell me, I think let's just take a pause here, and you say you took 12 or 13 tests. Why? What was your hypothesis, or what was the thought process in the back of your mind when you said, I'm going to take 12 or 13 tests?
My only thought process was that the more practice I do, the better I'll become. Okay. And I didn't take into account that I also need to do the error analysis, that where I am going wrong. I was consistently getting 650 or 660 in those exams. So my thought process was that if I keep practicing more tests, my scores will improve. But I was going in a wrong direction. That won't help you improve your scores until and unless you introspect, until and unless you do an analysis that what are your weaknesses, where are you going wrong. When I did an introspection later, I realized that probability was one of my weaknesses when it came to quant. So when in permutations or combinations problem, I was probably even not able to, correct even a 500 level question. So that was bringing down my quant. So then I started focusing on probability. I started focusing more on my weaknesses. So until and unless I did that error analysis or maintained an error log, I was not able to even understand that where I'm going wrong. So that was my big mistake.
Okay. So and so I think that's quant, and I think that definitely in you isolated probability, you focus and studied on it. On the verbal side, in the first 3 attempts, you scored a V27, V26, which is like 40 percentile. And then you improved to a V41, which is 94 percentile.
Right. Yeah, and that's why, to be honest, I'm grateful to eGMAT. Again, I mean, a few days ago, a person from GMAT Club, he contacted me his name, I don't remember his name. In fact, we spoke even last night also. He has also enrolled into a eGMAT course, and they asked me that what exactly changed. So I told him that there are certain approaches that work for certain people, like the pre-thinking approach. I purchased all the Manhattan GMAT books, and I studied. Manhattan books are very good, no doubt about that. But they have a specific critical reasoning approach. Like you write it down, you use symbols and certain things before every critical reasoning problem. You write it down, read and write it down. They don't have the pre-thinking approach. So I tried with that. It didn't suit me. But the pre-thinking approach, it really suited me, and that changed a lot of things. And not just in the critical reasoning, even that you can apply pre-thinking approach in a reading comprehension. Before you, see a question, before you see the answers, you think about it, or you write the summary of the paragraphs and then you write an individual summary of the passage. And once you write that, that helps you to understand the entire idea of the passage, because there are a lot of tricky questions. You have a topic mentioned in all the three paragraphs, but in the last paragraph it's not mentioned. So that cannot be summary of the passage. So once you write down the summary of the entire passage, that helps you. And for sentence correction, it's all about rules. You need to understand and memorize certain rules, which eGMAT lays down very, very well. So those things like the verb rule, the ing or verb ed modifier rule, in parallelism, the certain rules when you use either or, neither nor, those kind of rules. So for sentence correction, it was very similar to me like mathematics. There were certain kind of formulas and which you need to understand, and then you need to apply those concepts. So these kind of things and the pre-thinking approach, I even mentioned in my debrief, that really helped me. And so when that person called me up, he contacted me in GMAT Club, and he was asking me that how could I improve on pre-thinking. So what I suggested him was that pre-thinking is something that comes with practice, and you need to adapt yourself to that pre-thinking. You need to train your brain, you need to train your mind that I have to do pre-thinking here. See, it might not come naturally to certain people. So what I suggested him was that start with 500 level questions. No one is asking you to do 700 level questions and do pre-thinking. First, train yourself and improve your accuracy on the pre-thinking part for 500 level questions. Once you're able to do that, then move into 600, then move to 700. So that was my approach, and that really helped me to ace my verbal.
That is very interesting. I think two things over there. First is the fact that you kind of started from the easy and went up, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of people really do. They say, I've got to do difficult, and I'm going to start with difficult because I need to answer difficult questions correctly to ace the GMAT, and which doesn't help anyone. It's like, hey, if you want to be able to do a bench press of 220 pounds, if you start lifting 200 pounds, you're going to kill yourself.
Right.
You're not going to be able to practice the next day.
Yes.
The second thing is, even though starting with easy questions was a longer path, you kind of held your own throughout that path, and in other ways you wouldn't have gotten 94 percentile. So I think it requires a certain character to get there, and that's why GMAT's an exam the way it is designed for people to score high, and people can score high if they work hard in the right way towards it, but they need that grit to do that.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. Yep.
So you also mentioned in your fourth attempt on your debrief how you would do these 20-25 practice questions or something. So let's talk a bit about that. So what did you do when you practiced during your fourth attempt?
So in my fourth attempt, I changed my approach completely. So what I did was that I didn't focus on the numbers. So previously I was focusing more on the numbers, especially in the first two, because I don't know how I had that. And when I look back, I think that it was a big mistake on my part, and it was a wrong approach. So I was focusing on the numbers, that I have to complete a set of 30 questions on this day, or I had a plan. I had a very clear plan, but the plan was focusing only on the numbers. But in the fourth attempt, what I did was that I focused more on spending time on analyzing. Say if I'm practicing 30 questions, 10 SC, 10 CR, and 10 reading comprehension. Say one big short passage and one long passage. So what I was focusing on is where I was going wrong. And so what was happening was that initially when I tried doing that pre-thinking part, it was taking time. It was taking more than 2 minutes for me for most of the CR questions. So then I So first I focused on the accuracy. I was not thinking of the timing part, because I knew that, well, timing is very, very important. It's as important as accuracy. But my strategy was that I improve my accuracy first. I train myself to do pre-thinking correctly. Then the more I practice, the more I train myself, I will be able to do that within the time zone. In fact, it was mentioned in one of the eGMAT brief also. I was reading, and that really helped me, that I should not panic on the time first. So that is what I did initially. When I did say 10 CR questions in a day, I, I I was not calculating the time. Even if it was taking 25 minutes for 10 CRs, I thought that, well, it's fine. I was trying to focus on how many I'm getting correct, and specifically with the pre-thinking approach. I tried hard not to do any CR questions without pre-thinking, not looking at the answers. So I had to really train myself in that way, even for the RC as well. The sentence correction, the eGMAT material is very, very high quality, I would say, and I say it to anyone. And the way the different lessons are structured, and once you understand those concepts and you apply, things become a lot easier, and that really helped me. So sentence correction was straightforward for me. And but for CR and RC, yeah, after I read the eGMAT, after I followed the pre-thinking, it took me some time. So I was focusing more on where I'm getting wrong. Even if I'm doing 8 questions right out of 10, so where I'm getting wrong in those 2 questions, am I close? So, or am I way off in my pre-thinking? So I try to analyze that further.
Okay. One of the things that we'd be really happy to know is that for pre-thinking, we are adding material. In fact, as you talk, there are about 30 people who are going through an alpha trial of our new assumptions module, which has 10 times as much pre-thinking as our current assumption module does. 10
Wow.
times.
Okay.
So, and the initial feedback that we've gotten is that it's really, really amazing. In fact, if you go on my LinkedIn, you can really see a couple of the feedback emails that we've gotten from students who've gone through it.
That's great. Okay.
So let's talk about one more thing. You maintained error logs even during your second attempt, from what I understood from your debrief.
I believe third attempt.
Also your third attempt.
Yeah.
And you, but the way you revise from what you're telling me is different than what you in their third attempt than what you did in the fourth attempt. So help me understand through this. So you diligently maintained an error log, yet you weren't as diligent while revising during your third attempt?
Yes, I wasn't. And I was very tensed. I have also mentioned in my debrief, I don't know what changed in the fourth attempt, because I became a father before my fourth attempt. So that probably changed something. So there are certain things that happens in your life that probably makes you more calm and poised and take a control over the situation. So I've realized I have given GMAT 4 times. How much ever hard or how much ever well prepared you are on the test day, you need to maintain yourself. I mean, you need to be very calm and composed, and you should not panic. So I when I look back, I realized that even on the test day or throughout my preparation during the fourth time, I was a lot more calm and poised. Even though there were a lot of noises and baby crying in the house, and I have to use noise reduction headphones all the time during my preparation, or I used to go to a Starbucks and prepare. But I didn't panic. I didn't panic at any stage of the that throughout my preparation period. There were certain tests at the beginning that where I was I mean, I was still getting probably from 660 it improved to 680, but it was still not hitting the 700 mark. But I was still not panicking. I knew that this would probably be my final attempt in a while, but I knew that I will get there. I don't know why, but I had that self-belief. And that really helped me throughout my preparation and even on the test day as well.
Perfect. Okay, so I think let's talk about what's next for you, Arjun. So you currently work for TCS?
Right.
Okay. And you've been in the States for how long?
6 years.
6 years now. Okay. And you want to go into, I mean, you want to develop your strategic abilities and your leadership skills, and that's why you're doing an MBA.
Right. Yes. Right now I want to focus on general management, and I see myself as a strategic consultant in the technology space or in the IT space, or I have a domain expertise in insurance. I can leverage that as well. I don't expect to change my industry, because considering the work experience I have, I know that it's not very feasible. But so I don't want to do my concentration will be in general management with a focus on probably strategy and marketing, or strategy and leadership, something like that. So based on the research that I have been doing, or based on the discussion that I'm having, in fact, with certain admission consultants, I feel that a 1-year program would suit me better, an accelerated MBA probably, rather than a 2-year program. So I am considering some of the European programs at this point of time, and wanted to get your feedback as well on that, like
Okay.
INSEAD or London Business School, Judge, SAID. And in fact, I'm considering ISB as well. And in Canada, there is one school, because my wife will be working here. So I'm just having a school in Canada as backup, the Ivy School of Business.
Ivy is good.
So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that as well.
So you don't want, so a career, you want a career enhancement, you want a function change, but you want to stay in the same industry essentially.
Yes.
So I mean, that way a 1-year MBA does make sense. I would really say that. Okay. So I think that's one part of the consideration, and because you've a fair amount of experience in the industry, so in that case, it does make a lot of sense. Now let's talk about where you want to work once you graduate, because all these schools that you mentioned are good schools. The key question really is, hey, you do your MBA, and then what's next after that?
Okay, so I see myself working in either in an insurance company.
No,
In
but
the
where geographically?
I would love to come back to North America,
Okay.
but I don't. I know that if INSEAD is global, I know, so I still have a chance, but I don't know about the other schools. So I would prefer North America, but I'm still fine in Europe.
Okay, and you have a green card for North America?
I don't. No, my
Okay.
wife would have probably.
No, your wife has?
They filed. Her employer filed. She
Her
doesn't
employer.
have it yet.
So if they filed, then you would also get one once she gets one, right?
Yes.
So and when would that happen?
We don't know that.
Well, typically, how long is the wait time, right? I'm sorry, I am not
10, 15 years.
10 years away.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for me, that would be a big concern, because if you move out of this place, then and if you move to Europe, then your wife would also have to move to Europe.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So then her green card processing would be gone.
Yes.
So I think that would be one big consideration if I were you, if you indeed wanted to stay in Europe or in US. Okay. Now, having said that, one interesting place would be Canada. I mean, good schools, really good visa practices, and they have a much better accelerated process. Is what I would really say. And you are up north out there, you suffer the cold anyway.
Yeah. Right. So what are your thoughts on the Ivy School of Business? I saw that they have a 1-year program. Do you know any applicant?
I am sure I'm connected to. So first of all, I mean, if you connect to me through LinkedIn, you would see someone from Ivy. In fact, and the thing really is, 4 years ago, I pretty much talked to half the students that we had, because we didn't have as many students.
Okay.
Now it's practically impossible. But students connect with me, and I know I'm connected to pretty much all the top schools, students in all the top schools. So yes. Again, I mean, 1-year MBA would suffice for you. But remember, even when you do a 2-year MBA, one of the things that's nice about a 2-year MBA is that you get to do a lot of internships, and you get to make money doing those internships. So from a money standpoint, it's not as bad. That's one thing that I would really say. From a learning standpoint, it's very useful. And from getting the next job standpoint, because you do all these internships, it's very useful.
Okay.
So
in your experience, have you seen applicants with, say, 8 or 9 years of work experience doing full-time 2-year MBA?
Oh yeah, my classmates were, some of them were 40 plus. I did my MBA when I was 25, 24, 25, yes. But some of my classmates were 40 plus. The oldest student in UCLA's Anderson School of Business full-time MBA class is 48.
Okay.
So, I mean, we were just talking to those guys in June earlier this year. I spent a day over there. and we were talking to the admission officers and the assistant dean. So yes, I mean, absolutely.
Okay.
So I mean, the thing with you is a 1-year MBA would work for you given your experience. So from a knowledge standpoint, it would work for you.
Okay.
It doesn't work for some other people because they don't have enough business exposure, and B, they want to change both their industries and functions. Okay. So in your case, you don't want to change your industry. A 2-year MBA would allow you to do that. And that's one of those benefits of doing multiple internships. It allows you to look up, to cut across functions and industries. You start your change with cutting across functions first. And then once you've proven yourself in an internship in a function, so in your case, hypothetically, it would be, let's say from a function in IT to a function as an imparting process change, which is a part of leadership in some way. Once you're able to do that in the insurance sector, then doing that in pretty much any other sector is going to be a lot easier for you, because they'll be talking about your experiences in the insurance sector in your interviews, the challenges that you faced, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And that's what having done 3 or 4 internships does.
Okay.
So that's kind of, and the reason I'm saying that is because there aren't a lot of good 1-year MBA options in US. And given the fact that you've invested yourself in US or North America, and given the fact that you've just had a baby,
right?
So I wouldn't venture into a completely new world.
Okay.
Have you lived in Europe? Do you know of people?
No, I haven't. No.
So I think one of the other things is you should really consider about people who've lived in Europe. And again, my advice to someone who would have been coming from India would be completely different. I've lived in Germany for 4 years.
Okay.
So and coming from India, living in Germany, it's fantastic. I mean, the kind of vacation you get, the kind of you get is just amazing. If I were to retire sometime, I would go there and retire. It's that nice. I still consider it to be my second home. That way. But having said that, making money in Germany is terribly difficult because of the tax structure over there. And because of how the salaries are over there. So I think that's a completely different thing.
Okay.
So have that consideration in mind when you go to Europe.
Okay, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Also,
I haven't yet. Yeah.
Also, Netherlands and England are much more open, and the English-speaking countries. But when you get to Germany, France, and Spain, you still need to learn the native language. That's another barrier that you need to overcome if you want to go up the ladder, especially in leadership. I mean,
and you need to be fluent, right?
Reasonably fluent.
Okay.
I mean, German's not difficult to learn. You can learn it in about 1.5 to 2 years, but it's one other thing to learn.
Right, totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the things that I would really tell you, essentially. I wouldn't be married to a 2-year MBA if you can make the numbers work for you. Okay. And in your case, it seems that your wife's earning, so the numbers might work for you.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of what my advice would be.
Okay. I appreciate your feedback. So I'm still finalizing. I'm getting inputs, and I wanted to hear from you as well, since you have a vast amount of experience in this area.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like uprooting yourself and going to a completely new country would be very challenging. And I mean, one of the other options is you do that 1-year MBA, come back and look for a job over here. It's I mean, if you get into LBS, let's say, or if you get into INSEAD, coming back over here, as long as you still, I don't know how the visa situation would work out in that case, frankly.
Yeah, they have to apply a fresh H-1B.
Oh, well, you can't apply an H-1B, right? You'd come as an H-4 as a dependent on your wife.
Right.
And then
if I have to come, yeah. Right, totally, yes.
Right, and yes. I don't know how the transition from H-4 to H-1B works, how long that cycle goes through. And so, I mean, think through those logistics, which are very important.
Okay.
Essentially, it has nothing to do with an MBA, but but everything to do with you getting a job back here.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And again, London's it's a fantastic place, but I will tell you, 2-bedroom apartment in what is it, zone 3, zone 4 in London is about £800,000 right now.
Wow. Really?
It's not zone 1, zone 2, which is the central London. It's zone 3, zone 4, which means that if you're going to work in central London, you probably are looking at a commute of about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. That's zone 3, zone 4 for you.
It's very costly.
It's super costly.
Okay.
So, I mean, look through all of this, connect to folks who are already there through LinkedIn.
Sure.
Good nannies in London are also very hard to find if you're thinking about that for your baby.
Okay.
So,
yeah, lots to think. Yeah, I understand.
I mean, think about those pieces. There are good business schools everywhere. A 730 would actually make you very eligible with your kind of experience for pretty much any business school out there. So, and I think you have a demeanor that allows you to do, I mean, that would make you do well in an interview, especially if you work with an admission consultant. So I think that part is there. So I'm not as worried about it as long as you work with someone who can show you the direction.
Okay.
In fact, one other thing that I would really say is attend our resume webinar this weekend if you have not registered for it.
No, I haven't. I just saw it in your website. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yes. So it's something that you might find very interesting.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
So that is it, Arjun. Any other question that I can answer for you?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Yeah.
All right. So do I yours. And thank you for...
And I'll keep your team posted where I get in finally.
Absolutely. Please do.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.